What's up guys, my name is Arjuneus. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about deep shit. Today I want to discuss an important yet rather disturbing message in Black Mirror that many viewers may have missed. For those of you who don't know, Black Mirror is a sci-fi anthology series that many would describe as horror tales, except the monster in the show isn't really a boogeyman chasing after you around the house. The monster is something that you are chasing. Technology. But what I am about to show you may change how you watch Black Mirror, or let alone how you watch any horror shows and films in general. So let's begin. I want to draw our attention to the season 4 finale called Black Museum, because this episode in particular is the epitome of the dark truth we are about to reveal in a few moments. And if you have not seen this episode, these are major spoilers, so go watch that episode first and then come back if you don't want it spoiled for you.
In this episode, a character named Haynes has created an amusement park of criminological artifacts that he has collected. Haynes gives the protagonist Niche a tour of his museum. The first artifact is a neurological implant that Haynes prototyped and lended to a doctor to help him feel his patient's pain in order to aid in medical diagnosis. But an accident caused the pain outputted by patients to turn into pleasure inputted into the doctor's implant. So the doctor slowly became addicted to feeling the pain of his patients for pleasure and arousal. He eventually took it too far and was fired from the hospital. But back home, he started torturing a homeless man to death and even tortured himself with cuts and bruises to satisfy his insatiable craving for pleasure. The second artifact is a stuffed monkey. It looks innocent, but it is so sinister. Haynes convinced a guy named Jack to transfer the consciousness of his comatose wife, Carrie, into his own brain, which let her share his sensations. However, this quickly became a privacy issue for Jack, and Carrie had no agency, particularly with their child. Then Jack began dating Emily, who convinced Jack to transfer Carrie's consciousness out of his and into a stuffed monkey, limited to speaking only 2 phrases so that Jack and Carrie's son could play with it. But because it could only speak 2 phrases, their son grew tired of it, and Haynes claims that Carrie's consciousness is still trapped within that toy. The final artifact that Haynes decides to show Niche is the centerpiece of the museum. It's a holographic projection of a convicted murderer named Clayton. While Clayton was in prison, Haynes convinced him to sign the rights of his consciousness over before his execution so that it could financially provide for his family. Haynes creates a holographic projection from Clayton's consciousness into a cell that allows visitors to endlessly recreate Clayton's execution through a knob and create copies of his suffering as souvenirs for each visitor. So what do these attractions all share in common? They are all being used by Haynes to generate profit at the expense of exploiting other people. And why do people want to come and pay to see people get tortured? Entertainment. People are amused and engaged by all forms of entertainment, whether it be comedy or tragedy, pleasure or torture. It just so happens to be that people being tortured is super entertaining to some people because it's shocking and grabs your attention right away. So yes, at the end of the episode, we do hate Haynes for the screwed up stuff he's done to people for the sake of his Black Museum, but think about why the director of this episode chose this to be the throwback episode containing Easter eggs from all the previous episodes. What does this tell us about the viewer? Why did you sit through 4 seasons of Black Mirror to get to Black Museum? This is the plot twist. You are the one paying Netflix to watch Black Mirror to see people suffer for the sake of entertainment. This episode is basically turning everything upside down and slaps you across the face by suggesting that the real monster is you. because you are demanding more shocking concepts in Black Mirror, just like the visitors in that episode are demanding literally shocking concepts in Black Museum. The satisfaction of people coming to play judge, jury, and executioner for Clayton is reminiscent of how people back in the day would come out to watch someone get hung or executed for crimes, or watch gladiators rip each other apart. We still have that today, it's just more organized violence, like sports. Even when the so-called protagonist niche decided to trick Haynes into the same torture chamber Clayton was in, because we find out at the end that Clayton was actually her father and she wanted revenge. But all that showed was that niche has now indulged in the entertainment of Clayton's suffering. She wasn't any better. So it's a very sickening thought that plays on the fact that these sadistic humans are always willing to cause suffering just for entertainment. I mean, most animals will only fight or kill for survival, but we humans, we'll do it for money, for power, for status, and for our own pleasure at the sake of someone else's suffering. This story is just a big reflection of the dark side of human society at large, and taps into the psychology of why people are attracted to horror films in general. It begs to question that as these horror fanatics become more desensitized to what they see, they will demand a more shocking punch and so on to be entertained. But how much further will we go with it? Will it cause a mental decadence at some point? Will horror fiction turn into reality at some point? And most importantly, where do we draw the line?